They have spent your entire life teaching you to listen to every voice except one, the only one that matters. Your parents, your teachers, your culture. They gave you 1,000 maps, all meticulously drawn, all promising to lead you to happiness. But all of those maps led to the same destination, a quiet life of conformity and silent desperation. But they never told you about the compass you were born with. The one piece of internal technology that could render all their maps obsolete. They couldn't afford to. Because a person who can navigate by their own true north cannot be led, cannot be controlled, and cannot be kept in the maze. This is not a video about finding your purpose. This is a jailbreak. We are about to break into the control room of your own mind, turn off the loud, distracting, and lying voices of the world, and turn on the one true signal that has been broadcasting your soul's direction since the beginning of time. There is a compass inside of you. It was your first gift, the original instrumentation that came with your soul. It does not point to a geographical north. It points to your true north, to your purpose, your path, your highest and most authentic expression of self. For most of your life, you have not been able to hear its guidance. The signal has been drowned out by a cacophony of other voices, other directions, other maps that were never yours. You feel this as a quiet and persistent confusion, a sense of being adrift on a vast and chartless sea. You look for direction in the stars of other people's approval, in the winds of cultural trends, in the treacherous currents of your own conditioned fears. And so you sail in circles, your journey marked by a profound and wearying sense of being lost. The hidden voice in your head calls this indecision or anxiety. But the truth is, it is a form of sacred deafness. You have forgotten how to listen to the one voice that was always meant to be your pilot. It is the voice of the guide. And it is time to come back into alignment. If you are tired of navigating by borrowed maps, if you are ready to finally hear the unwavering guidance of your own inner compass, then take a slow, deep breath. We are not going to search for a guide. We are going to awaken the one who has been sleeping within you all along. Subscribe and join this circle, because your direction is not a destination to be found. It is a presence to be remembered. Part 1. Before we can tune into the whisper of the inner guide, we must first become profoundly aware of the noise that is drowning it out. We must, with clear and compassionate eyes, examine the cacophony of external voices that you have mistaken for your own guidance system. Imagine you are standing in the center of a vast, circular room. In every direction, there are screens, thousands of them, of all sizes. And each screen is broadcasting a different set of instructions, a different map for your life. This is the inner landscape of the modern, unawakened mind. Over there, on a massive, gilded screen, is the broadcast of your cultural programming. It has been playing since your birth. It shows you images of what success looks like. The big house, the luxury car, the youthful body, the prestigious career. It broadcasts a clear set of directions. Go to a good school. Get a safe job. Climb the ladder. Accumulate. Compete. Win. It is a loud, confident, and relentless broadcast. And its volume is so high that you have likely spent decades of your life trying to follow its map, believing it was the only map that existed. You followed the directions, but you did not arrive at the promised land of fulfillment. You arrived only at a place of exhaustion. On another set of screens, smaller but closer to you, is the broadcast of your family and upbringing. These voices are intimately familiar. They speak with the accent of your mother, the tone of your father. They are the voices of inherited belief. Be a good girl. Boys don't cry. Don't take risks. What will the neighbors think? This is how we have always done it in this family. These are not just words, they are energetic and emotional programs, installed in your system before you had any conscious defense against them. You have been trying to navigate your adult life while unconsciously obeying a set of rules designed for a child's survival in a specific family system. You have been trying to sail the open ocean while still tethered to the dock of your childhood harbor. And then there are the screens of your peers and social circle. This is the broadcast of belonging. It is a powerful hypnotic signal that dictates what you should wear, what you should believe, how you should speak, in order to be accepted by the tribe. To deviate from this signal is to risk the primal fear of exile. And so you have listened. You have trimmed parts of yourself to fit in. You have silenced your own strange and beautiful truths in order to speak the common language. Finally, there is the giant, chaotic, flickering screen of the information age. The 24-hour news cycle, the endless scroll of social media, the cacophony of experts, gurus, and influencers all shouting their own conflicting directions at you. Do this, not that. This is the one secret. No, this is the one secret. This broadcast is pure static. It is designed to overwhelm your nervous system, to scatter your focus, and to keep you in a state of perpetual confusion and dependency, always searching for the next piece of information that will finally give you the answer. You are standing in this room, bombarded from all sides by these broadcasts. Is it any wonder you feel lost? Is it any wonder you cannot hear your own inner voice? You are in a state of profound sensory and psychic overload. Your own true signal, the quiet hum of your inner compass, is being completely jammed by the sheer volume of these external transmissions. The journey to connecting with your inner guide does not begin by adding another voice, another teacher, another system. It begins with an act of radical subtraction. It begins with a sacred and courageous act of turning off the noise. It begins with the willingness to sit in the silence, to endure the discomfort of the static fading, so that for the first time, you can hear the one true signal that has been broadcasting patiently from the center of your own being, your entire life. Part 2. Now that we have acknowledged the noise, let us begin to tune into the signal. Who or what is this inner guide? The guide is not a separate entity. It is not an angel on your shoulder or a spirit from another dimension, though it can speak through such channels. The guide, in its purest essence, is an archetype. It is a fundamental pattern of consciousness that lives in the collective unconscious of humanity, and therefore, lives within you. It is the part of your own psyche that is not lost, that has never been lost. It is the part of you that is directly connected to the source code of the universe. The great depth psychologist, Carl Jung, taught that archetypes are like the psychic instincts of the human species. They are the primordial images and patterns that structure our experience. There is the archetype of the mother, the hero, the trickster, the shadow. And there is the archetype of the wise old man or the wise old woman, Senex. This is the guide. Imagine your consciousness is a great, ancient tree. The leaves and branches that are visible to the world are your personality, your ego. They change with the seasons. They are buffeted by the winds of life. The trunk is your personal history, your strength, your structure. But deep beneath the ground, there is the root system, a vast, hidden network that connects you not only to the earth, but to all the other trees in the forest. This is the collective unconscious. And in the very heartwood of your own tree, at the core of your being, lives the oldest, wisest part of you. The part that was there when the seed first sprouted. The part that holds the entire blueprint of the tree's potential. This is the guide. The guide is the voice of your own wholeness. It is the wisdom of your soul, which is not limited by the experiences of this one lifetime. It has the perspective of the entire forest. It remembers the long winter, and it knows the spring will come again. It is the part of you that is not identified with the drama of the leaves. It is anchored in the deep, silent, knowing earth of being itself. You have always had access to this guide, but you have been taught to look for it in the wrong place. The program of the world, the program of the hidden voice, tells you that wisdom is in the leaves, in collecting more information, more data, more experiences. And so you have spent your life frantically gathering leaves, hoping that a big enough pile will finally give you a sense of direction. But the guide does not speak in the rustling of the leaves. It speaks in the slow, silent, creaking language of the heartwood. Its voice is not a voice of words. Its voice is the voice of intuition. Intuition is not a thought. It is not an emotion. It is a different faculty of perception altogether. It is a direct, instantaneous knowing that bypasses the logical, linear mind. It is the gut feeling that tells you yes or no about a person or a situation, a feeling that your logical mind cannot explain. It is the sudden insight that drops into your mind in the shower, the perfect solution to a problem you have been wrestling with for weeks. It is the quiet whisper that says, "Turn left here," for no reason, and you narrowly avoid an accident. It is the feeling of resonance, of a deep rightness, that you get when you are on your correct path, and the feeling of dissonance, of something is off here, when you are not. This is the language of your inner guide. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is not pushy. It is a quiet, clear, and unwavering signal. The problem is not that the guide is not speaking. The problem is that you have been trained, for your entire life, to ignore this subtle language and to listen only to the loud, chaotic, and often contradictory language of the external broadcasters and your own conditioned mind. The first step in aligning with the archetype of the guide is to learn its language. It is to resensitize yourself to the almost silent whisper of your own deepest knowing. Part 3. If this guide is always speaking, why can't you hear it? Why does its voice feel so distant, so unreliable? It is because the signal is being blocked. There are 4 primary forms of static, 4 great blockages, that the program of the simulation has installed in your system to prevent you from accessing your own inner guidance. Blockage number 1. The noise of the rational mind. This is the most significant blockage. Your rational, analytical mind, the hidden voice of the ego, has been crowned king. You have been taught that the only valid way of knowing is through logic, through data, through proof, through pro and con lists. The mind is a magnificent tool, but it is a terrible master. Its nature is to doubt. It cannot compute the nonlinear, holistic wisdom of the soul. When your intuition, your guide, whispers, "Leave this stable, well-paying job, your real work lies elsewhere," what does the rational mind do? It screams in terror. It generates 1,000 logical reasons why that is a terrible, insane idea. It brings up data about the economy, about your mortgage, about your responsibilities. It creates a storm of what-ifs and hows. It is the voice of the known, the voice of the past, and its primary function is to protect you from the unknown. And so, in the face of this logical, fear-based onslaught, the quiet whisper of your soul is drowned out. You dismiss your intuition as a silly feeling, and you stay in the job. The blockage has done its work. Blockage number 2. The static of unfelt emotion. Your body is a primary receiver for intuitive guidance. The gut feeling is not a metaphor, it is a literal, physical sensation. But if your body is already filled with the static of repressed, unfelt emotion, you cannot feel the clear, subtle signal of your intuition. Imagine your body is a pool of water. Your intuition is a gentle breeze, creating a subtle ripple on the surface. If the pool is calm, you can easily see the ripple. But if the pool is already in a state of turmoil, with waves of anxiety, of anger, of grief constantly churning, the subtle ripple of your intuition will be completely invisible, lost in the greater chaos. You have been taught to repress your emotions, to numb them, to distract yourself from them. And so, your body is carrying a huge backlog of unprocessed emotional energy. This creates a constant, low-grade static in your feeling body, making it almost impossible to distinguish the voice of your fear from the voice of your wisdom. To hear the guide, you must first be willing to feel, and to release, the emotional storms that are clouding the waters of your own body. Blockage number 3. The interference of other people's energy. You are an energetic being. Your aura is your sovereign space. But most people walk through the world with a completely porous energy field. You are a psychic sponge, unconsciously absorbing the thoughts, the feelings, the fears, the beliefs of everyone around you. You walk into a room and you suddenly feel anxious, not realizing you are picking up on the anxiety of the person next to you. You have a conversation with a cynical, negative friend, and you walk away feeling hopeless, having taken on their belief system. You are so full of other people's energy, other people's voices, that you can't distinguish which voice is actually your own. To hear your guide, you must learn the art of energetic hygiene. You must learn to clear your field, to create strong boundaries, and to distinguish between what is mine and what is theirs. Blockage number 4. The distraction of the outer world. This is the simplest and most pervasive blockage. Your inner guide speaks in the language of silence and subtlety. But the modern world is a conspiracy against silence. From the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, you are bombarded with external stimuli. Your phone buzzes. The TV blares. Your calendar is full. Your to-do list is endless. You are living in a state of perpetual distraction. And in this state, there is simply no bandwidth left to perceive the subtle. The signal of your soul is broadcasting 24/7, but you are always tuned to a different, louder station. You are too busy, too distracted, too plugged in to the outer world to ever hear the call from the inner one. These four blockages, the noise of the mind, the static of emotion, the interference of others, and the distraction of the world, are the walls of your prison. They are the padding in the asylum cell that prevents you from hearing the voice of sanity, the voice of your own inner guide. The work of alignment is the work of systematically and patiently dismantling these four walls. Part 4. The understanding that we each have a personal, indwelling spiritual intelligence that guides our destiny is an ancient and universal truth. This is not a New Age invention, it is a forgotten inheritance. The ancient Greek philosophers spoke of the daimon. The daimon was not a demon, in the modern, Christian sense of an evil spirit. It was a personal tutelary spirit, an inner guide, a divine genius that was allotted to each person at birth. The great philosopher Socrates claimed that his entire life was guided by his daimon, which he experienced as an inner voice that would never tell him what to do, but would always, unfailingly, warn him when he was about to take a wrong turn. It was a voice of divine, preventative wisdom. Plato, Socrates' student, expanded on this idea. He taught that the daimon was our own personal link to the realm of the eternal forms, the divine blueprint of reality. The daimon's job was to remember our soul's pre-life purpose and to guide us, through subtle inner promptings, to fulfill that purpose on earth. To be happy, for Plato, was to live in alignment with one's daimon. To be unhappy was to ignore its voice and to live a life that was out of tune with one's own soul nature. The Roman Stoics, like the Emperor Marcus Aurelius, also spoke of this inner guide, which they called the genius within, or the divine fragment. They taught that the ultimate goal of a philosophical life was to live in accordance with nature, and the primary way to do this was to listen to the rational, serene, and incorruptible voice of the divine spark within one's own heart. This same concept finds its echo in the mystical traditions of every religion. In Sufism, the mystical heart of Islam, they speak of the qalb, the heart, not as a physical organ, but as an organ of spiritual perception. It is the eye of the soul. They teach that the heart can become rusted and covered by the dust of the ego and worldly concerns, making it unable to reflect the light of God. The work of the Sufi is to polish the mirror of the heart, through remembrance, dhikr, through love, through purification, so that it can once again perfectly reflect the divine wisdom and guidance. The guide is the voice of the polished heart. In our modern age, this archetype has been powerfully re-envisioned by the post-Jungian psychologist James Hillman, the founder of archetypal psychology. Hillman took Jung's idea of archetypes and Plato's idea of the daimon and created what he called the acorn theory, which he beautifully articulated in his book The Soul's Code. Hillman argued that each person is born with a unique acorn, an innate image or pattern that contains the blueprint for their destiny. Person in lotus position, this acorn is our calling, our unique genius, our personal daimon. He wrote, "The soul of each of us is given a unique daimon before we are born, and it has selected an image or pattern that we live on earth. This soul companion, the daimon, guides us here. In the process of arrival, however, we forget all that took place and believe we come empty into this world." Hillman believed that the symptoms of our life, our quirks, our obsessions, our challenges, our deepest longings, are not random pathologies. They are the voice of the acorn, the call of the daimon, trying to get our attention, trying to guide us back to the path that is encoded within us. Our job is not to create a purpose for ourselves, but to remember and get out of the way of the purpose that is already living within us. From Socrates to Hillman, the message is the same. You are not lost. You are not alone. You carry, within the very heartwood of your being, a wise, ancient, and loving guide who knows your name, who knows your path, and who is constantly whispering directions to you. Your only task is to learn how to create enough inner silence to finally hear its voice. Part 5. We have identified the blockages. We have understood the nature of the guide. Now, we must move from theory to practice. We must learn the sacred art of listening. This is not a passive act. It is a conscious, disciplined, and loving practice of tuning your inner radio. This is not about finding your guide as if it were a lost object. It is about creating the conditions of inner quiet and receptivity that will allow the guide's voice, which is already speaking, to be heard. Let us outline a simple, daily practice for this sacred listening. 1. Create a sanctuary of silence. You must, as a non-negotiable act of spiritual hygiene, carve out a small pocket of absolute silence in your day. It does not have to be long. 10 minutes. 15 minutes. But it must be consistent. And it must be protected. This is your appointment with your own soul. Turn off your phone. Close your laptop. Sit in a quiet room where you will not be disturbed. This act, in itself, is a powerful declaration to the universe. I am now available to listen. 2. Calm the waters. You cannot see the reflection of the moon in a stormy lake. You must first calm the waters of your own nervous system and your emotional body. Begin your practice with a few minutes of conscious breathing. A simple technique is the box breath. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4. This simple rhythm has a powerful effect on the vagus nerve, shifting your system out of the fight or flight mode and into the rest and digest mode. As you breathe, let go of the day. Let go of your worries. Your only job is to be still. 3. Ask the open question. Once you feel a sense of inner quiet, you can pose your question. The guide does not respond well to frantic, desperate, or highly specific questions from the ego, like, should I take this job or that job? It responds to open, sincere, heart-centered inquiries. Your question is an invitation. Frame it from a place of, I don't know, from a place of humility. A beautiful question could be, my soul, my guide, what is the one thing it is most important for me to know right now? Or, show me the next step on my highest path. Or simply, speak to me of truth. 4. Listen with your whole body. This is the most important step. You have asked the question. Now, you must let go of the need for an answer. You must become a receptive vessel. You are not listening with your ears. You are not looking for a sentence to pop into your head, though that can happen. You are listening with your entire being. Pay attention to the subtle shifts in your body. A sudden feeling of warmth and expansion in your chest is a yes. A feeling of coldness and contraction in your gut is a no. Pay attention to the images that drift into your mind's eye. A symbol, a color, a memory. Do not analyze them. Just receive them. Pay attention to the quality of the silence itself. Does it feel peaceful and full? Or does it feel empty and agitated? The language of the guide is resonance. The right path will always feel like a deep, quiet, solid yes in the very cells of your body. It will feel like coming home. This practice of sacred listening is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. It is a commitment to building the most important relationship of your life, the relationship with your own inner wisdom. If you are ready to make this commitment, to move from seeking answers outside to listening for the wisdom within, then I invite you to formalize this choice. Click the like button. Let it be an energetic signal that you are turning down the volume on the world and turning up the volume on your own soul. You are choosing to trust yourself. And by sharing this, you are encouraging others to begin trusting themselves, too. Part 6. Listening is the first half of the equation. The second, and often more difficult, half is action. Your inner guide can show you the door, but you are the one who must walk through it. And to do that requires a quality that our logical, security-obsessed mind finds terrifying: trust. Your guide will not always give you a complete, logical, step-by-step plan. In fact, it rarely does. The mind wants to see the entire staircase before it takes the first step. The soul, the guide, will often only illuminate the very next step in front of you, shrouded in darkness. And it will whisper, "Step here." Imagine you are standing at the edge of a cliff in a thick fog. Your guide whispers, "Leap." Your rational mind screams, "Are you insane? We will fall to our deaths. I need more data. I need a safety net." This is the great test. This is where your practice moves from the meditation cushion into the real, messy world. Do you trust the loud voice of your fear, which is based on the past? Or do you trust the quiet voice of your intuition, which is connected to a future you cannot yet see? The journey of aligning with your guide is a series of these small, and sometimes large, leaps of faith. Your guide might whisper, "End this relationship." The logical mind will argue, "But I'll be lonely. What about our financial situation? What will the family say?" To trust the guide is to take the step, without knowing what comes next, trusting that the feeling of rightness is a more reliable compass than the feeling of safety. Your guide might whisper, "Start the creative project. Write the book. Paint the canvas." The logical mind will counter, "You're not good enough. No one will care. You don't have the time." To trust the guide is to pick up the pen, to pick up the brush today, without any guarantee of success, simply for the joy of the creative act itself. Your guide might whisper, "Speak your truth in this situation. Say the thing that everyone is afraid to say." The logical mind will warn, "They won't like you. You'll be rejected. You'll lose your job." To trust the guide is to speak from your authentic core, and to let the chips fall where they may, trusting that living in your integrity is the only real security there is. Every time you take one of these small actions based on your intuitive guidance, you are building the muscle of trust. You are creating a new feedback loop. You trust the whisper, you take the step, and you discover, miraculously, that a foothold appears where there seemed to be only an abyss. You survive the leap. In fact, you feel more alive than ever before. And the next time the guide whispers, its voice is a little stronger, and your fear is a little weaker. Because you now have direct, experiential evidence that your guide can be trusted. You are building a relationship with it, based not on blind faith, but on a growing body of evidence from your own courageous life. This is how you move from being a person who has occasional, gut feelings, to being a person who is living a guided life. You do it by honoring the whispers with your actions. You do it by being willing to be a fool for your own soul. You do it by repeatedly, bravely, choosing the unknown path of your heart over the well-trodden, dead-end street of your mind. Part 7. As you become more attuned to your own inner guide, a beautiful and paradoxical thing begins to happen. You start to recognize its voice everywhere, outside of you as well. You realize that your guide does not only speak from within. It can speak to you through the entire universe, through a council of guides, once you have learned to listen. This is the principle of as within, so without, in action. As you cultivate the inner guide, you begin to see its reflection in the outer world. You are wrestling with a problem, and you go for a walk in nature. You are not even thinking about the problem anymore. You are just being present. And you notice a dead tree, fallen on the forest floor, and from its decaying wood, a vibrant, new community of fungi and moss is growing. And in that moment, you receive your answer. You understand, on a cellular level, that all death is a precursor to new life, and that you must let the old part of your life fall away to make space for the new. The tree has just become your guide. You are in a bookstore, feeling lost and directionless. You let your hand drift along the spines of the books, and for no reason, you feel a pull towards one of them. You pull it out. It is a book you have never heard of. You open it to a random page, and the sentence you read speaks so directly to your current situation that it sends a shiver down your spine. The book has just become your
guide. You have a brief, seemingly random conversation with a stranger in a coffee shop. They say one simple, offhand sentence, not even knowing the weight of their own words. But that one sentence lands in your heart with the force of a thunderclap. It is the exact piece of wisdom you needed to hear. The stranger, an unwitting angel, has just become your guide. Even your own body becomes a more conscious guide. A persistent pain in your back might be a message. You are carrying a burden that is not yours to carry. Let it go. A sudden illness that forces you to rest might be your soul's way of saying, "You have been ignoring my whispers for rest, so now I must shout." This is what it means to live in an enchanted, intelligent, and communicative universe. When you are aligned with your inner guide, you realize that the entire world is in a constant dialogue with you. Everything is a symbol. Everything is a message. Everything is a potential guide, waiting to offer you its wisdom. The key is to move through the world not with the narrow, focused attention of the ego, which is always looking for what it wants, but with the soft, open, receptive awareness of the soul, which is ready to receive the wisdom that is in everything. You are no longer a lonely seeker, trying to hear a single, faint voice from within. You are a student in a living, breathing university of wisdom. Your teachers are the trees, the books, the strangers, your own body. And they are all speaking the same language, the language of your own awakening soul, reflecting your own inner guidance back to you, in a million beautiful and unexpected forms. Part 8. We have journeyed to find the inner guide, the archetype of the wise old man or woman, the Daimon, the soul's compass. We have learned to listen for its voice and to trust its direction. But now we must take the final, and most profound step. We must go beyond even this beautiful and powerful archetype. We must discover the guide behind the guide. The archetype of the guide, as powerful as it is still a form. It is a personality, a character within your psyche. It is a wise and loving part of your own consciousness, but it is still a part. It is still a guide for you, the separate self. The ultimate liberation is to discover the guidance that is not personal, but universal. It is to move from listening to the voice of the soul, to resting in the silence of the self. This is the journey from duality to non-duality. The relationship with the inner guide is a relationship between two. You, the seeker, and the guide, the one who knows. But the final destination is the realization that the seeker and the guide are one and the same. What is the guide behind the guide? It is the pure, formless, unmanifest consciousness that is your true nature. It is the silent witness that we have spoken of. It is the timeless I am presence. This ultimate guide does not speak in whispers or gut feelings. It does not offer directions or advice. Its guidance is of a completely different nature. Its guidance is its very presence. When you learn to rest as this pure, formless awareness, you discover that you no longer need guidance, because you have become the wisdom itself. When you are identified with the ego, you are a lost traveler who needs a map. When you are identified with the soul, you are a traveler who has found their inner compass. But when you realize you are the pure awareness, you realize you are not the traveler at all. You are the landscape. You are the path. You are the destination. You are the entire, intelligent, self-guiding map. How does this work in a practical sense? When you are resting as the I am presence, and a choice point arises in your life, you do not need to ask, "What should I do?" You simply bring the light of your silent, non-judgmental awareness to the situation. And in that light, the correct path reveals itself, not as a thought, but as the only action that is possible for a being who is in a state of love and clarity. The action arises spontaneously, effortlessly, and perfectly from the stillness of your being. This is what the Taoists call Wu Wei, effortless action or actionless action. It is the state of moving in perfect harmony with the flow of the universe, because you have realized you are not separate from that flow. You are no longer a canoeist, struggling to paddle up the river. You have dissolved into the river itself, and you are being carried, perfectly and intelligently, towards the sea. The archetype of the guide is the final, beautiful, and necessary training wheel. It is the ferryman who takes you across the last river. But when you reach the other shore, the shore of non-duality, you must thank the ferryman and step out of the boat. You must let go of even this most beloved of inner companions, and you must dare to stand alone, as the one, undivided reality. You must dare to be the wisdom you were seeking. Part 9. What is life like when you are no longer seeking direction, because you have become the direction? It is a life of radiance. The entire paradigm of seeking is based on a feeling of lack. I am lost, so I must find direction. I am ignorant, so I must find wisdom. I am here, and I need to get there. It is a life of striving, of becoming. But when you have reconnected with the ultimate guide, the I am presence, you realize you are already here. You are already whole. You are already the wisdom you were seeking. The search ends. And in the space where the striving used to be, something new is born. A simple, effortless, and powerful radiation of your own true nature. You cease to be a seeker of the light. You simply become the light. And this light, your own silent, peaceful, loving presence, becomes your gift to the world. It is the ultimate guidance you can offer, not through your words, but through your being. Your peace becomes a guide for others out of their own inner storms. Your clarity becomes a guide for others out of their own confusion. Your love becomes a guide for others out of their own self-hatred. You are no longer trying to help people from the superior position of a guide. You are simply being the state of being that you have discovered in yourself, and that state itself is a resonant, healing, and guiding force. You have become a living invitation. Your very presence is a silent question to everyone you meet. Would you like to remember this piece that you also are? This is the final purpose of the archetype of the guide. It is to lead you home to yourself, so completely that you are no longer in need of a guide. And then by the simple natural law of resonance, you become a guide for all of life just by being you. The hidden voice of the ego is always asking, what should I do? What is my purpose? The silent voice of the self, the ultimate guide, has only one
answer. Be. Be the stillness in the midst of the noise. Be the love in the midst of the fear. Be the light in the midst of the darkness. Just be. And in your simple, radiant, unstriving being, you will find all the direction you ever needed. And you will become the direction for a world that has forgotten its way home. Part 10. And so we arrive at the final, beautiful, and heart-opening recognition. The final piece of the puzzle of guidance. We have journeyed from the chaos of the outer voices to the whisper of the inner guide. We have moved from seeking a personal guide to resting as the impersonal self. And now, we must look back on the entire journey and understand the beautiful, loving intelligence that designed it. The epiphany is this: the guide that you were seeking, the archetype of the wise old man or woman, the daimon, the soul companion, was a projection of your own future, awakened self. It was you. It was the fully realized, whole, and enlightened version of you, reaching back through the illusion of time to leave clues for your present, amnesiac self. The intuitive whispers, the gut feelings, the synchronicities, the chance encounters, they were not random. They were not even from a separate guide. They were appointments you set for yourself. They were love letters you wrote to yourself and mailed to your own future, knowing you would need them on the journey. The entire universe has been your co-conspirator in this beautiful, intricate game of self-remembrance. You, as your higher self, have been orchestrating the entire play. You have been the playwright, the director, and the hidden prompter in the wings, whispering your own lines back to you when you forget. And the you, who has been feeling lost, confused, and searching for a guide? That, too, is you. You, the one self, playing the role of the seeker, for the sheer joy and adventure of the search, and for the ecstatic sweetness of the final discovery. In this final recognition, all separation between the seeker and the sought, the guide and the guided, dissolves. The student and the master are one. The questioner and the answer are one. You are the one who was lost in the wilderness. And you are the one who was drawing the map to lead yourself home. You are the one who was crying out in confusion. And you are the loving silence that was holding that cry. You are the one who forgot. And you are the one who has been patiently, lovingly, orchestrating every moment of your life to lead you back to this very moment of remembering. There is no one else in the room. It has always only been you. And with this final, loving, and all-encompassing embrace of your own magnificent, multi-dimensional nature, you come to rest. The compass needle no longer spins. It points, firmly and finally, to the center of your own heart. And in that center, you find not a direction, but a destination. And the destination is home. And home is you. The map has been read. The compass has been found. And it is you. Your own heart is the only guru you will ever need. If this journey has helped you to hear its voice, subscribe and continue to walk in the wisdom of your own inner guidance. The time for seeking is over. The time for being has begun. Welcome to your own wisdom.